Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Andrew Hines, and I'm a client success manager here at Oasis Solutions. Today, we're going to be talking about the Sage Intacct 2025 Release 3. I have Lisa Brewer here. She is our senior consultant for Sage Intacct here at Oasis Solutions, and she's going to take a deep dive at some of these enhancements that Intacct has just released. So, without further ado, Lisa, I'll introduce you.
Thank you, Andrew. As Andrew said, good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining the webinar. We're going to do, I'm going to show things a little different today than I normally do. So my PowerPoint is going to stay just like it is because we're going to kind of be back and forth in between the presentation and actually within Intacct. So just be patient with me. So to get started, we're going to take a look at the agenda. So first and foremost, where and how to locate those release notes. Because we're only highlighting just, a handful. We've just cherry picked some that we thought would be really interesting, um, or things that we think that you might benefit from. So how to locate those release notes, we're going to take a look at Sage Copilot. We're also going to look into your AP payments via Mineral Tree, how to pay bills from the vendor listing, using the smarter email capabilities through AP automation, how to delegate bill approvals when an approver is out of the office, and then PO match tolerances, as well as enhanced list views. So where do we go to see those release notes? So those release notes are actually going to be in your home page. So anytime you're in Intacct and you click this home button, that's going to take you directly to your home screen. So some of you may access Intacct and go directly to a dashboard, but you can always click this home to take you to this landing page. And here it's going to give you a couple of little highlighted things about release 3, but you can also click on the read release notes. This gives you an 11-minute video that you can watch. You can also drill directly into United States to see what is specific to just the US. Once you drill into US, these are the areas in which there are enhancements in this release. And then anything from prior is also listed there as well. All right, so moving along, Sage Copilot. So Sage Copilot is AI driven, designed to help you find information within the Help Center. So as you can see below there, the natural language understanding. So Sage Copilot understands the nuances of Sage Intacct terminology and then can interpret the complex queries. So the example on the screen there, the question was, how do I export a report? And you can see Sage Copilot came back with exact instructions in those steps. And then it also gives you other options to click on there to how to run a custom report writer report, how to export reports. So let me show you let's see, let me get up here. So in your help and support, this pretty little S plus here, this search help, that is your Sage Copilot. From there, we can ask it a question. So I had asked it, how do I pay a vendor bill? And so Sage Copilot comes back and gives me the exact process. Very helpful, very beneficial. Strongly suggest to use that for any questions that you might have. So moving along with vendor payments via Mineral Tree. So the good thing, the great thing I will say with Mineral Tree is that this is a seamless integration. So you do not have to go outside of Intacct to use Mineral Tree. So what is Mineral Tree? So Mineral Tree allows you to pay your bills via ACH, check, or virtual card directly through Intacct. It's going to allow you to use your vendor payment preferences that's already set up on your vendor master. Um, it's also going to allow you to use your existing bill workflows and your payment approvals. So none of that goes away. All that stays the same. And let's hop over here and let me show you what that's going to look like. So from within your pay bill screen, under the payment method, the only thing that you're going to see different if you choose to go with Mineral Tree is you're going to have an option here that says Mineral Tree. Once you select Mineral Tree and you choose which vendors and invoices that you're going to pay, it's then going to follow this preferred payment method. So ACH, printed check, and then virtual card. So virtual card, you are able to earn cashback rebates through the virtual card spending. Um, so there is an additional charge for using Mineral Tree, but to get a little deeper into that, I have added a link here into this slide deck. So if you have any questions, you want to, learn more about it, what you need to do, there's going to be some contact information here at the end of the webinar for Ms. Garen Stout or Andrew. But if you have any questions, would like to learn more about Mineral Tree, please let us know. We're happy to dig into that a little more for you. So in the same lines of paying bills, from your vendor listing, you're now going to see this option here in purple that says pay. So in your bills screen, you have the option to pay like a one-off invoice. So when you click on that, it only allows you to pay that one invoice. From the vendor listing now, um, that total that's listed there, that 13,609.35, when we click pay, it's going to show us every invoice that makes up that $13,000 total due for that vendor. So as you can see there in the bottom, the pay option appears for all vendors regardless of their state or total due. So even if there's a $0 due, that pay option is going to be there. Now there are some other conditions where bills cannot be paid through this option. And if you've got questions on that, let us know. But the Help Center will also let you know like what those nuances are. So let's go to a different tab here. So here I'm in my vendor listing. So in this vendor listing, you can see this pay option. So if I click on pay, that just takes me directly to my pay bill screen and shows me what 4 invoices make up that $36,000. So if I get a call from a vendor, hey, maybe we missed a statement, something happened, we can just hop right into that vendor listing screen, find exactly what we owe them. Yes, let's pay them and move right along. So just an easier way to access and pay your bills. So smarter email capabilities through AP automation. So with these smarter email capabilities, this is something that to move forward with these new benefits, you would have to create a support ticket with us and then let us create that support ticket with Intacct. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But with the new email capabilities, we're able to auto forward. So if you have an option now where your vendors are sending those emails directly to you, instead of using that email function, we could set that up to where when those come to you, it's auto forwarded to your automation email manually. Inline attachments. So if you use AP automation right now, any attachments that are in the body of the email, those didn't extract either at all or very well. So now with this new email capability, any inline attachments will be extracted for processing, creating that AP invoice as a draft. Another thing is the text from an email body. So if someone just created an email, invoice number, right, amount, if those transactions can now be read within the body of an email, not just when it's added as an attachment. The iPhone images. So this new email capability does support HEIC file formats from iPhone images as an incoming attachment. Now, what is not supported there is the split view. So if you use AP automation now, in my preferences, you can enable the split view. So any email that's came in through AP automation, we can see that in split view. We can see the transaction that it created plus the PDF document that was used. So the iPhone image is not supported in the split view. You would actually have to download the attachment to compare what the API read versus what it actually created as the draft invoice. So to opt into the new email service, so like I said initially, you would technically have to create a support ticket with Oasis that says, hey, I want all the benefits of this new email capabilities. We would then reach out to Intacct support and ask them to turn that on for you. So once that is turned on, you're actually going to be assigned a new AP automation email. So how do you know what your email is now? I'll show you that in just a moment. But if you're currently using AP automation, I would say most of you have an at sagemail.com. Utilizing the new email capabilities, that is now changing to at ai.sage.com. So when and if we switch, if you have provided your at SageMail email address to vendors, we obviously need to reach out to those vendors and say, hey, it's changed. This is now what it is. So let me show you what that looks like and how you can find. So that's going to be in accounts payable under setup and configuration. And then down in the bill automation settings, there's an upload and an email service. In that configure, so each of your entities will have their own email address. If you are just a single entity and you're not multi, you just have one. But this is where you're going to see what your email address is. So at some point, this is going to change whether you opt in for this service or not. Sage is rolling this new AI at Sage out over the next like 6 months. So I would say if you're using AP automation, let's get that switched over sooner than later. So you kind of have control of when it happens versus allowing Sage to do it and then your emails are just not coming through. So anyone on the call today that's using AP automation, let's get a support case started. And I will be happy to get this moving forward for you. So delegate bill approvals. So this is also partly through some AP automation. So what is it and how does it work? So an administrator would enable delegation and then select delegates in the bill approval settings section on the configure accounts payable page. So what you can do as an individual approver, I could set my out of office and then I would go in to my delegations in my user preferences, and then I would specify a time period that I'm going to be out of the office. During that time period, I could then delegate who is going to be approving those AP bills that come through. Now, I don't have to go back in and change anything because that delegation is going to end automatically when my out of office period expires. Once that expiration time hits, then any newly submitted bills are automatically routed back to me. So in this bottom section here, good to know. So to act as a delegate, you must have permissions to approve bills. You need the list permission. So if it's just one person or if it's a user group, Each person in that user group would need the list permission for the approved bills. Um, so any delegation settings or changes, they are tracked in an audit log. So that audit log is, complete transparent to you to look and see who changed, what changed, who did the approvals. So one place delegation is not supported is in those value-based approvers. And then a vendor-based approval that's assigned to a user group cannot be delegated. So keep that in mind. If a delegate is out of office, so the person that I have delegated to, if they're out of the office, Intact is going to attempt to reroute up to 3 times. So if I'm out of the office and I send it to Andrew, Andrew's is set to send to Falana. It's going to try until it gets someone up to 3 times, and then it's going to go back to me. So keep those little nuances in mind if this is something that you decide to use. Excuse me. Okay, PO match tolerance rules. So what is a match tolerance? So I think we've probably all ran into those issues where we put a PO in the system, the vendor comes back and there's a different price or there's a different quantity. How much leverage do we want to give our end users to say, okay, the price is, $2 more than what the PO was put in for? Or we ordered 10 of these, we only received 2, or whatever that case is. Something does not match 100%. Well, we can set up some match tolerance rules that says maybe, over or under 10%, over or under $10. And we can determine that on a transaction definition specific basis. And I'll show you what that means here in just a moment. So this is a control mechanism that's going to compare the purchase order details, quantity and price, or just quantity or just price. So we can set those up. So what we're doing is we're saying, we're going to create those match tolerance rules and we're going to take that capability away from our end users to say, yes, this is correct or not correct. We're going to say, we're going to give you this much leeway. We're going to give our vendors this much leeway. And if it's out of those exceptions or out of those percentages, then we're going to get an exception. And that PO is going to stay in an exception status until someone who either can say, we're going to override the exception and say, yes, let it go through, or we have to make edits to this purchase order. So this is a configuration setting in purchasing. So let's go take a look at what that looks like. So in the purchasing configuration, which is purchasing setup and configuration, under the enable functionality, there is a checkbox for enable match tolerances. So what's going to happen is once this posts, if we allow it to post and we override, this is the GL account that we're going to choose and say any of those match tolerances, whatever that number is, we want it to hit this GL account. Then we have to determine during what transaction definition do we want that match tolerance to compare. So I selected in my system, in my demo data here, to do it during the receiver of inventory. So once I've created my purchase order, when my end user goes to do the receiver and receive that inventory in, my quantity tolerance is 10%. My price tolerance is 0, meaning it has to match my price. Quantity is I'm going to give you 10% over and under. So you can receive over and under 10%, but you cannot receive if it is off price-wise anything. So you have no percentage there. So then what happens is I can run a report or I can look at the status. So there would be a new status on my purchase order that says tolerance or exception. My apologies, exception. And then we can drill into that exception to then see what the exception is. If this is something that you're interested in doing, I wouldn't suggest turning it on without maybe setting up a support ticket um, with me or Jordan. So we could kind of go over the specifics for you. Now, granted, if you turn it on and you don't actually choose a transaction definition to apply it to, you're never going to have any exceptions. You've just turned it on so you can use it, but you don't have to use it. The exception is going to happen once Intag flags that transaction definition as being converted. So from the PO to the transaction of converting to a receipt or whatever transaction definition you choose. All right, so moving right along is enhanced list views. So this is something that I do believe we've talked about in a previous release in how to view a list in the enhanced list view, how to look at those different search criterias and filters. Why I'm bringing this up again is Sage is rolling out again in different phases to different customers that this is going to be the default view. So you can turn it off, right? But at some point you may log in and the enhanced list view may be your default. So I'm in my vendor screen in my vendor listing, and up in this section is the turn on enhanced list. So if you happen to access a list view one day and this is what it looks like, and it looks different, you can simply turn it off by coming to these three dots, which is more actions, and then turn off enhanced list. And from this point, what happens is whatever your list view was set at the last time you accessed it is what it's going to open up as the next time. So in this enhanced list view, you can always have the multiple views like we've talked about before. This enhanced list views for some folks eliminates different reports that they need because they can actually drill in and filter by column. We can resort the columns. A lot of different things you can do in this enhanced list view. And then you can also change this list view to split view, which then opens up that master record on the right-hand side of your screen. So if we single click on the left-hand side, opens that up on the right. And then when we click done, that takes us out of that split view. And then again, to go back to our regular view, we go to our three dots, turn off enhanced list. And that takes us to our Q&A. Are there any questions? But we will jump to this screen to give you Miss Garen Stout's email and phone number. And anyone interested in viewing this again, like you can reach out to us. We'll make sure you get a copy of the slide deck. This will also go out on our YouTube page. Again, if you've got any questions about what we went over today, if you want to set up a support ticket, I'm pretty confident you all know how to do that. All support tickets come to me first. So that is going to wrap up our 2025 R3 release. So thank you all for joining. And again, if you've got any questions, you can reach out to Miss Garen Stout. You can reach out to Andrew or myself through tech support. And thank you all again for joining, and I hope you have a great day.